Guys, I can't stress enough how much I love this energy we have going in. Ladies, welcome. I start all my interviews the exact same way. It's even harder to do with 5 people, but I do want to know, how are you genuinely, how are you doing today?
Tired.
I appreciate that. I feel that, but we are so glad to have you here. And I'm really genuinely excited to get into this topic. And where I want to start kind of broad here. And Brie, I'll start with you. I feel like, and maybe this is just me, and maybe this is really happening, I feel like marketing of a project, be it film, be it television, is something that average viewers are suddenly very aware of. Anytime a project is coming out, you see people going, oh, the marketing budget is insane on this. And that's not necessarily something that people may have noticed in years past. So I'm curious for you, this is kind of a layered question, but I mean, what is responsible for this shift? Is it a good thing that this is happening?
I think it's a great thing. So my job is obviously working in social media, and I think the reason behind this is that audiences are now being invited to participate in the marketing, and I think social media specifically is a big driver of that. So previously you had campaigns where brands would talk to the audience, and now I think really smart brands are talking with the audience. It's become a bit of a conversation, and so inviting them into the room and also in the conversation and having them identify things that they love and then having the ability to respond to them within a campaign. It's been a lot of fun. I think we have the ability to have like inside jokes with our fans now, and they know when to anticipate certain trailer drops, or you'll see them kind of like scouring the box office reports even. It's opened up so much more, and it's made, I think, our jobs a lot more fun.
Is there, and I imagine it's hard to pinpoint one thing, but is there maybe one thing or a time, even a year, that you think the shift started to happen? Like, why did this start to happen? Is it just the emergence of social media really being where everybody is?
I think so. I think because it's a call and response. Fans are able to give you an immediate piece of feedback, and sometimes you see brands respond to that feedback. And, you know, for us, for example, we have Twilight as one of our library titles, and you speak about a time
Small movie you might have heard of.
Every year we have Hoa 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 season, and the fans have really, it's big. It's my favorite holiday. And the fans have really started to drive what that looks like. They know what trends they want to see. They know what they want the brand to do. They want a celebration, and people are looking for like a communal experience, whether that's online or in real life. And so having them kind of identify different tentpole moments that didn't exist when Twilight was marketed, Hoa 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 season wasn't a thing. That's something the fans themselves created, and then we as a brand have embraced it. So I think it's shifted through social. I think that truly being a place where people can kind of come together and brands can respond and engage, I think that's really what's been the driver of it.
That makes sense. You talk about tent poles. Obviously, there's a very large tent pole this year. And Suzanne, you know I got to come to you for this. She literally went, yeah, this is me. You might have heard of this small little project called Wicked, and then Wicked for Good, which is now officially out. Yes, please. This is a campaign like I have never seen before. I was scrolling TikTok the other day. Someone posted a video of the Northern Lights and was like, the Wicked marketing budget is out of control. And I was like, you're right. But it's an incredible thing that Wicked has achieved. And it's not only Wicked for Good. I mean, you guys have been doing this for 2 years now. This is a very long campaign. So I'm very interested in the evolution of this. How did you kind of preserve the longevity, starting with Wicked and knowing you had another one coming? How do you plan that long term?
It does feel like it's been going quite some time. Although I am deeply sad that it's almost over, I have to say. It has been a joy. I think, look, we started with a mission with Wicked that was, we want to take over culture. We want to shape culture. There isn't really model culture anymore, and so we were trying to establish that. In part because if you think about musicals, there's only a handful that have had meaningful box office success, unfortunately, but there's absolutely an audience who's hungry for it, and we're clearly hungry for Wicked. So we started out by setting that mission, and then we definitely wanted to start by engaging the fans, and they are legion, and they have thoughts, and we respect them, and they were tremendous advocates for us. But we needed to make sure that we got beyond the fans. And so that was part of why the campaign that, Yes, it was pervasive. We hope we were just on the side
You
of
say this like you're
annoying.
guilty. This is not a problem by any means. I'm fine with Wicked being all over my feed.
I mean, it is. What I love about it is that it was all over everyone's feed because people were experiencing joy. And I think this is also a moment the last few years where wherever you exist in the world, you can appreciate a bit of joy. And so essentially we started with fans, but we wanted to make sure we allowed for the entire audience to be excited about it. All moviegoers, you don't have the kind of outcomes we were looking for if you're not going beyond fans generally. And our very first step was actually to launch in a place that was unexpected, which was the Super Bowl. And we did treat the campaign as one long campaign, knowing there were two movies with a number of individual non-theatrical windows in between the two. But we basically never acted as if we weren't an event. We were an event for people, and we owned it. And that was sort of the mission that continues, at least for now, for at least another week or two as we go through the holidays.
Well, and it's something that so many different studios, so many different companies get in on. It became a trend. You see Marvel Studios posting images of their most famous duos, and the caption is like, "Because I knew you." It's like, it's this really, really sweet thing. So is that the goal at any point, to reach into maybe a brand? Because it's not necessarily always a partnership. Of course, there are some of those, but sometimes it's not. Is it the goal? Like, how important is it to reach into those worlds, like you say, the Super Bowl, where like that audience maybe doesn't necessarily think about Wicked first thing when they wake up in the morning?
Unlike me. I think it is always a goal to actually permeate that way, but it needs to feel authentic. And, I think back to another one we benefited from, which was Barbenheimer. And, again, there isn't, we were joking in the room before, there isn't a viral button you just push to figure out, like, how do I get that to go viral? But if people see themselves in it, enjoy the content, and find ways to, again, be part of the cultural zeitgeist, I think that can only help. Well, it can help the movie, but it also helps moviegoing. And that's, a lot gets written about the challenges that have happened in our business. And I think it's important for us all as an industry to support moviegoing and each other. So we always appreciate that as well.
Go to the theater. Wicked was such an event. People dress up. I love that this is becoming a thing, that people are excited to go to the theaters again. Very, very passionate about this. But as you say, it's not just a button you can push. You can't just be like, oh, hey, we want this to go viral, and this is a title that people care about. You need to find people where they are. You need to find your audience. And so there's a lot of data that goes into this. And so, Ingke, I want to come to you because with Just Watch, you guys work with multiple studios. You're working across so many different kinds of projects. I'm so interested. How do you then find that target audience? What data is most useful? Like, how do you go about finding out where maybe an unexpected place to grow is? How do you find your people?
Yeah, actually, in the very beginning, it starts together with those who are the experts on that movie, and we get their view on what is the target audience by naming us titles of movies which are similar. And but then comes the technology and also our first party data, which we have about movie taste and TV show taste from Just Watch. And we get it daily, like it's like fast food. We get the data about movie taste and TV show taste. And by that, we can describe people. And when I tell you that one of my founders, my co-founders, a male, beginning of 40s, he would be to be put in a box for an action and maybe a horror movie, and when you purely go for demographics. But when I tell you his Just watch list is consistent of Christmas movies, romantic comedies, a little bit squeaky comedies thing, and you hear I have like subgenres of genres. That's what Just Watch is helping with in the media buying world. So we contribute the marketing piece of media buying with already in the planning phase. To explore which is the core audience we need to get, which is the expanded audience we maybe can get, and in best way, which is the incremental audience, yeah? So that's the planning phase, and then we have the phase of execution when the campaign is running. So we do buy media for movie marketing campaigns, the video campaigns on the big platforms. There we use also data, and this is something I refer to what you said, Briana. So you reach through digital the consumer directly. This is your target audience, your audiences which go to the cinema or and you get feedback from them. And within the campaigns, we consider and we respect the feedback. And the most important one we see is the true question about, are you planning to watch that movie at the cinema? Do you plan to spend money on it? This is what we also use within the campaigns.
You mentioned something very briefly, and I don't want to let you just skate over it because you did mention that you are co-founder of Just Watch, which is, we love a woman who co-founds a company. That's what the Power Women Summit is all about. I love this for you. I love this for all of us. I really want to know, Ingke, in your opinion, what is the importance of women's voices specifically in marketing and having female voices at the top? What kind of change does that impart?
Yeah. I'm super proud of being here and seeing you all, and I so much feel in a community and connected. And I think what Sharon said it in the beginning today, what we need to be aware of is our capabilities, what we have in us. And I think it's definitely creativity, it's empathy, it's endurance. And this is, when you look at it, everything you need to either make change happen or find solutions, because in a world where everything is changing, and it is in the marketing world for movies and entertainment, a lot changing, less resources, less budgets for campaigns, or not more, less, but you have to reach the same goals. This is what we bring in as women. We have that naturally, that we make it, we execute everything like as it is normal. And I think and I think it's in us, right? Because we handle so many things at the same time, and for us that is normal, and we foresee and we make them feel good. Don't worry, we help you. So, and this is what I also contribute to my company. And therefore, I really wish for all of us that we are aware of it all the time. And I found a word which I thought is what we also can demand from the others is that they trust us in that, right, just like that they trust us that we are capable of that, and not that we have to prove it again or so, you know. We are the ones executing, making the changes happen, guiding through hard or different times and changes, actually.
I love it. I just love that we have 5 women who are running. Ooh, I said a word. I almost said a word I can't say right now. Who are running things? Kim, Kim, I want to come to you because at AMC you've got a couple of different brands. We talk about finding your audience, talk about finding your fans. AMC has shows in the Anne Rice universe, and that's a whole different fandom than the people over at Shudder have. It's niche people, it's niche groups in things. So how do you then balance different campaigns and figure out what's going to work for one title obviously isn't going to work for another? So how do you go about figuring out what is going to work and making it happen for that audience?
Oh my gosh, that's a
big question.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's no two audiences that are alike. We have a pretty wide array of brands within the portfolio, from Shudder for horror, Acorn for international mysteries, and then AMC, which has big, broad, sort of original content. I think, a dissection of maybe just the Anne Rice universe is one. When we acquired the rights for that universe, we thought, we do franchises really well. Look at The Walking Dead. It's been around for 15 years. It has successful spin-offs. And what we found was Anne Rice is not necessarily the same thing. It's a very colorful and layered universe with so many different types of shows. And I think we underestimated how different the audience layers were between them. We launched with Interview with a Vampire to incredible critical acclaim, a very loud and passionate fan base instantly. And then we launched Mayfair Witches, and I think in retrospect, we didn't do enough to bring along that audience. And Mayfair Witches is a big, broad show. It's a multi-generational witch story, but it had none of what the Interview audience loved. And so we've done a lot on the Anne Rice universe specifically, a ton with just social listening and really understanding where the crossovers were. And in launching the Talamasca, we took that learning and made a series and a campaign that was really about this world being the first time they all cross over. And I think that universe is a good example of how we look at not just, there's not a one-size-fits-all model to everything, I guess, is sort of the long and short answer to your question. And how people show up and what they're looking for varies greatly by brand and sort of, show slices as well.
Is there any advice is probably the wrong word here, but guidance you would have, because you mentioned that you felt like you didn't do enough to bring over that audience into the next show. Some fans necessarily can't be converted, but is there ways to go about? Like, is there, not maybe tried and true, but is there means of converting fans from one, my brain just short-circuited fully. I lost the exact word I was going to say. Converting fans. Is there converting audiences to another title? Is there means of doing that successfully?
Yeah, I think what Bree touched on is really interesting. I think marketing has gone from being about just one-to-one promotion to being something that's much more participatory. And I think what we did right with Talamasca that we didn't do with Mayfair necessarily was we created an on-ramp for people at every step, no matter which show within the universe you came in for them to lean in and participate and see that specific thing that they liked within it. So I think it really is about creating not just an outward-facing sort of promotional path. It has to be sort of back and forth.
Can you give me any teasers on what we're doing for Lestat? Because you brought, look, I'm sorry, we're here. You brought up Interview with the Vampire. People are very excited for Lestat. When you know people are excited about something, you're going to play into that. So how are you going to capitalize on this?
This is the campaign, and not even lying, I think everyone in the building is the most excited about. Vampire Lestat is... It is based on Anne Rice's book, The Vampire Lestat, where he is a modern-day rock star. So I can't give too much away, but we are definitely leaning into Lestat as a rock star persona and having him show up as such in the real world. So think performances, merch, album drops. We might have a fashion line. I mean, there's going to be a lot of really fun layers to this campaign that's built very specifically for the fans of that show. And the audience has broadened a lot since the show has gone up on Netflix too. So we're seeing this as a big broadening opportunity for the universe.
It's just us here. You can just tell us.
Oh my God, no, I can't. It's going to be really good and worth the wait.
Well, Danielle, I have not forgotten about you. I want to come to you because Sony Pictures has had a really great year. It's complete with legacy titles and new ideas. And I'm really interested in how marketing shifts between those two ideas. When you have a legacy title, you have that built-in fan base. You can maybe play on the nostalgia. And then when you have a new idea and you have to figure out how do you go about, I would ask then, what is maybe the difference? What is kind of the core difference between a legacy and an original IP?
It's sort of like the difference between, creating a recipe from scratch and having like a box that you're making, right? You there with a legacy title, there are certain ingredients that you just have to have, right? And they're already in there. It comes that way. So you have to make sure, I think you said when you're speaking to the fans, right? Fans first. When we have a legacy title, Spider-Man or something like that, we speak to the fans first, right? They're the first to engage. They're also the first to criticize if they don't like something. They're the loudest. So we have to make sure that we're treating the fans with respect and care and making them feel heard. But we'll never succeed if we only focus on the fans. We have to broaden out. And, as titles, as the years go on, you have to make sure you're onboarding new audiences. So, it's very much a fan first thing when you have a big piece of IP, and then when it's an original title, you have to build it from the ground up. So you really have to start figuring out. You have to identify who your core audience is from the outset, and then make sure you're figuring out a way to reach them. And I think the biggest difference with theatrical movies versus streamers is, we don't have the direct-to-consumer relationship. Social media, you have it. That's a way to speak directly to the consumers, and it's a way to engage directly, but we don't have that first-party data. I think you were talking about that. So you really have to think about how you're going to find your audience. And in today's world where there's so much noise, that's, I think, your first question. How do you everyone's so aware of marketing now, and everyone's a marketer. So
everybody's got ideas how
right?
to do it better. Yeah.
Everyone can do it. Everyone's an expert. So, and that can be to your benefit, or that can be, a negative. So you have to find your core audience and make sure that you're speaking to them, and make sure that you're onboarding them to be evangelists for your movie or your product.
I'm kind of interested where the line is, right? Because as you mentioned, fans are always going to think they know how to do it better. They're always going to think, well, this is what the fans really want to hear. And I'm sure you're an expert in your field. Sure, random person on the internet. Where is that line? Because marketing campaigns are also, they take time. Like we were talking about Wicked earlier, that was one long campaign they treated it as. So in the timeline of everything, you're researching your audience and you're researching what you want to do. Where and maybe when is that line of like, okay, we've heard what they have to say, we know what they want, now we need to figure out how to execute our strategy?
Well, it's hard. You have to just sort of hold your breath and accept that there are going to be naysayers, right? There are going to be people, there are going to be fans who don't like it, who clickbait is a real thing, right? And so at a certain point you have to listen to all the data and all the information you're getting, but you also have to listen to your gut and know when you can sort of not ignore is too strong of a word, but not listen to everyone, because you're going to get bogged down in the minuscule stuff and you're going to lose sight of the big picture, and you really always have to remember the big picture. And not everyone is a super fan, and you got to make sure you're reaching the people outside of the super fandom.
We talk about superfans. Brie, I got to come back to you because, again, little movie coming up. News alert, breaking right now. New Hunger Games is coming, and this is an insane. Thank you for that. Whoever did that, I appreciate that very much. New Hunger Games is coming, and this campaign is already in full swing. And this one, you guys had to pull off pretty quick because you find out that a book is coming, and then you find out that a movie is coming. And again, major fandom built into the Hunger Games. Just really would love you to give me every spoiler that you can.
Absolutely.
Amazing, great. It's just us, guys. But more seriously, when you're executing a campaign of this scale and you know how important it is to people and you don't necessarily know how the book is going to go, I'm very interested in how you guys approach something like this one. And I know it's a very, very broad question here, but I really want to know everything about this campaign.
I'll tell you everything. So, one, I love the Hunger Games, and being able to work on the Hunger Games is a dream. And I don't say that just like flippantly. I really love this IP. My team, we love this IP. There was a girl, when we found out that the book was going to be made into a movie, she cried. And we did. We had to move very quickly. And that same girl, she took the book home at 6 p.m. By the time she got to the office the next day, she's like, okay, I read it all, and this is what we're going to do. There's that level of passion, and you have to have it, right, when you're working with fans who are as passionate as the Hunger Games fans. So we take it very seriously, and we say all the time, we are fans too. So when we approach it, yes, that was a tall order. It took me 48 hours. I did not go home and finish it in a night. But I was excited to do so because it's IP that I love, and we knew that we were going to have the opportunity to recreate that feeling that we had in the fans online. So we had a ton of incredible support within the studio of making sure everybody on the team who needed access to that book got it so that we could read it and know exactly what we were going to be going out with. Our creative advertising executive made this beautiful AV piece that went as a companion to the book being announced, that announced the movie. And then we were hearing rumors of who the cast would be. And every single time, I think people were like, you guys have to calm down. There were screams. And so again, we're like, how do we make audience online feel this energy that we have? And so we were really kind of mindful about creating a true reveal. So we thought really hard about connecting the book to the cast and making that announcement really kind of an event. And we did so. We had these casting announcements roll out, and they really did feel like mini events. So much so that we were able to launch a fan casting contest, and everybody was like, oh, they're just going to probably give this person like an extra role. No, he's in the movie with an actual role. We had the casting directors and the filmmakers reviewing the fan casting videos to decide who's going to be the best fit. So we took it very seriously, and that was, I think, a reward to the fan, but the fans reward us every day. That's an always-on property for us. We don't just dip our toes into the Hunger Games and step back out. Every single day, even after Ballad, we were working on the Hunger Games. And so when we found out the news, it wasn't a lot of work to turn turned the community back on because we never really left. We are engaging with them every single day. And so the casting announcements turned into the on-set announcement, which turned into our trailer debut a couple weeks ago, and it became the second biggest trailer in Lionsgate's history. And I think that is because of how much we invest in that audience. And I mentioned always on, I mean every single week, even after a movie is released, regardless of where it sits, we're discussing what's the content we're going to put out there, what Easter eggs are we going to draw from, what should the TikToks be. So it was, it was a very fast turnaround, but we had so much momentum just through genuine excitement. And I think the most exciting thing is that we're just getting started with this one. There's a lot of campaign to go.
Well, and you have to know that. You have to know your timeline. You have to know that you have longevity. And I imagine that it's an idea mill that is, like you said, it's always on. Are you sleeping? I'm really
No. We started. You said, "How are you?" I said, "Tired." That was the truth.
That's
I don't
true.
sleep.
That's why we ask, "How are you?" Genuinely, we want that honest answer. Well, so we've talked a lot about how it's very fan forward in 2025. Social media is where they are. You have to meet fans and you have to meet your audiences where they are. But it's been an evolution, right? From the way things were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, everything changes really rapidly. And Ingke, I'll come to you on this one because again, we talked a lot about the data with you. How have things evolved from maybe traditional, linear TV and traditional broadcast and radio spots and whatnot and marketing that way versus getting into the digital age? How has that evolution really came about? What's kind of been the biggest change, do you think?
The biggest change has actually been already talked about. It's this direct communication way through digital to the consumer. And you mentioned it also. The cinema has the challenge that the contribution to marketing and sales at the box office, the ticket sale, is really hard to make because there's no direct connection. But they spend, the marketers and the studios, they reach their audience through digital. And they are able then to ask back, hey, did you buy? Are you going? So it's getting closer to get feedback directly back in-house to those who spend money. And what we see at Just Watch is that this, I call it in the German word Autobahn, right? To the consumer, to the people who are also the target group and the audience, is used more and more. That means it's digital first. Meanwhile, we see this even digital first planning, which is awesome, versus you had TV planning first, out of home, so all above the line media. First. And now we see this shift to, it's going digital first. The thinking is also digital first. The thinking of reaching the audience directly and getting something back. And that's what we definitely see. And I'm also super happy to see this because we are already in our 12th year, so we are established, and we were maybe a little bit forward thinking fast, also a little bit impatient. We saw this coming, and now we are seeing, it's there now. The people also need solutions, especially in the media buying world. We bring one. And therefore, we are also now here. So we are a global company. We are not only in Germany, we are international. We have now an office here in Los Angeles. So I'm super happy to be here also more often, maybe. We have a team here who is from here, and we're building up. But yeah, that's what we see. We see the shift from going to digital first. And I think it's really a big opportunity because, it makes it you can be very efficient. And with the circumstances of having less resources, having less budget, this gives you a big chance to achieve the goals.
You talk about getting impatient. I imagine there's always a risk of jumping the gun, right? You see something coming, but you have to time it right for the audience. And I am not a patient person, so I respect you for being able to do that. Guys, we are getting so very close on our time here. So before we leave today, I would love to run down the line. Suzanne, I'll start at the end with you. Just advice you might have for a woman who wants to maybe be in your job someday, maybe just get into marketing at a baseline. What is your key piece of marketing advice?
Be flexible, be curious, and love storytelling.
Goes back to that passion that Brie was talking about. You got to really love what you're doing. Kim, what about for you? What is that kind of core piece of advice?
That's all great. And I would just layer onto that, don't be afraid to bring your own personal flavor to things. I think that your own distinct position as a woman in media, in the world, is special and adds a really important layer onto the work that we do.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it already. Be aware of creativeness of ourselves, endurance, and also empathy. But then there's also one other thing. So sometimes there are coming times where you have doubts of do you do it right? Because maybe the market is not at the right timing yet, or so you have doubts. And stay consistent in that. Trust yourself, spar with someone, reflect it, rather talk more often about it, get the feedback, try to, hey, how I can explain it better or so do that. So trust in yourself, stick with it. And then the last part I really love is the collaboration. Really, it's about collaboration. It's about working together, put pieces together. And that really, brings then a solution or you to your goal, what you want to achieve.
And Danielle, for you?
I would say be a consumer. So whatever the specific field you want to be in, whether if it's movies, if it's movie marketing, go to the movies. Yeah. We so often ask our team, like, who went to the movies this week? And it's important. If you want to be in book marketing, be a reader, so that you can be your own expert.
And Bree, take us home. What is your piece of advice here?
I guess I would say it's also really important to just trust your team and the people around you. I think so often, especially younger members of the team, they're constantly kind of there and looking up to everybody else with more experience. But everybody has a point of view. Everybody is consuming different forms of media. They're coming from different places. So diversity of thought is so important. I wish I could say, like, any of the good ideas were mine, right? They're the people in the room who I'm saying, like, tell me, what do you think? What are you looking at? What TikToks are you reading? Who's the creator that you're following? And really learning from them and allowing that value to contribute to the collaboration of the overall campaign. I think everything everybody said is exactly it, and also recognizing that in the people around us.
Everything everybody said is exactly it. That's why we bring the experts to you guys. That's why we bring the people who know what they're doing. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. We love and appreciate you. Please give it up. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of Power Women Summit 2025. We appreciate you.